The Keth Elder was still explaining why he hadn't called Earth Aid Corps when Commander Silas Akafer walked past him and started pulling equipment from the transit case. Yara Cho stood 2 steps behind Silas, her gear bag on her shoulder, watching the exchange. The elder, Counselor Vrath, was broad-shouldered, with deep russet fur going silver at the jaw and the careful posture of a man who had spent decades being the most important person in every room he entered. He was not used to being walked past. The Mountain Response Division of the Compact was notified at 300, Vrath said, following Silas. They will arrive. We have protocols. We did not activate the Earth Aid Corps channel because we do not require it. The situation is being managed. The situation was not being managed. 3 Keth were trapped on floor 2, a section of the outpost that had partially collapsed when the avalanche hit the eastern facade. The Mountain Response Division had arrived 20 minutes ago. Yara had watched their 4-person team assess the scene, consult their instruments, and declare the structure non-entry safe. They were currently establishing a perimeter. Silas straightened up with a rope coil in one hand and a sensor probe in the other. He was 53, broad through the shoulders, patient in the face, with the particular quality of stillness that Yara had been trying to understand since she was assigned to his team 6 weeks ago. He looked at the compact team's perimeter tape and then at the collapsed facade. How long ago was the avalanche? He asked Vrath. 4 hours. And the 3 on floor 2, injuries. Vrath's secondary ears pressed back. We believe one has a broken forelimb. Internal comms were damaged. We have partial voice contact through the ventilation shaft. They are not well. Silas nodded. Then he looked at Yara. You read the structural report on the way in. Yes. She had read it 3 times on the shuttle. The eastern facade collapse loaded the central floor support asymmetrically. If the secondary compression wall on the north side holds, the floor has enough redundancy to stay up for another 4 to 6 hours minimum. That's the compact team's estimate. What did you see when we walked up? She thought back, the fallen facade on the east. The windows on the north side intact, no fracture cracking in the surrounding masonry. The ventilation stack on the roof, canted but standing. North wall looks intact, she said. Stack is still up. The load transferred east, not north. The 4 to 6 hour window is probably conservative. Probably, Silas agreed. He turned to the compact team's lead. We're going to do a probe entry through the ventilation stack. Is your team clearing the interior? The compact lead, 6-limbed, gray carapace said, the structure is rated non-entry safe. Our protocols do not permit. I understand, Silas said. We're Earth Aid Corps, we have different protocols. He looked at Yara. You fit the stack shaft. She looked at the shaft. A square duct, accessible through a rooftop panel, listing about 12 degrees off vertical. She was 21 and slight. She fit places other people didn't. Yes, she said. Good. I go through the main access on the west side. The debris isn't as dense there. I checked on the way in. You go down the stack, establish contact with the 3, assess injuries and mobility. We meet in the middle. The compact team says. I know what they say. He was already moving toward the west access. Come on. She followed him. That was most of what working with Silas Akafer consisted of, following him, watching what he did, and understanding it later. He showed her the gap, a low, irregular opening where 2 sections of fallen ceiling material had lodged against each other, leaving a passage half a meter high and 2 meters deep. He pushed the sensor probe through and read the screen. Temperature stable, no gas, oxygen nominal. He stood and looked at the roof. Go, I'll be right behind you. What if the gap closes while you're in it? He looked at her with an expression not quite impatience but adjacent to it, the look of someone who had considered every failure mode before she asked and had decided to proceed anyway. Then I have a problem, he said. Go. She went. The ventilation stack, was exactly as uncomfortable as expected. She lowered herself feet first through the rooftop panel, found purchase on the intake ridges, and worked her way down in the tilted dark, her headlamp cutting pale light through accumulated dust. At the bottom, a grill, unlocked, emergency release type. She pushed it open and dropped into a utility closet on floor 2. The floor was solid. She stamped once to check. Floor 2 entry confirmed, she said into her comms. Structural feels good, moving toward voice contact. Silas's voice came back, slightly muffled, through the gap moving east. She found the 3 Keth in the main corridor, cut off from every exit by debris on both ends, huddled in the way of people who had been waiting in the dark for 4 hours. The one with the broken forelimb was a young male, deep amber fur, wide reflective eyes that caught the beam of her headlamp and held it. The other 2 were older. One was mobile, the other had taken a head injury that left him intermittently confused, answering questions about things that weren't there, and then falling silent again. Yara knelt beside the confused one and ran her scanner. Possible concussion, no bleed on the portable scan, but she couldn't rule out everything with what she was carrying. She distributed emergency thermal patches. The Keth ran cool, and 4 hours in an unheated interior had taken something from all 3 of them. The mobile elder watched her work with the flat assessment of someone who had been trying to stay calm for a long time, and was not entirely succeeding. Earth Aid Corps, she said, and waited for the translator. I'm getting all 3 of you out. The other rescuer is coming from the west side. You're going to be out of here in the next hour. The elder studied her face. You are young. Yes, she said. She had learned in 6 weeks with Silas not to take the observation as a challenge. Silas arrived 4 minutes later, knees gray with stone dust from widening the gap by hand on the way through. He looked at the 3 Keth, at Yara's scanner readout, at the ceiling, at the east debris blockage in that order, without stopping. Good positioning, he said to Yara. First time in 6 weeks. She felt it land somewhere specific but said nothing. He assessed the east blockage in 30 seconds, hands along the debris line, tapping at intervals. We can clear this, 40 minutes, maybe 50. I've got the hydraulic separator. He glanced at her. Head injury goes first. I'll move him through the west gap you follow and stabilize. He paused. You're going to be in the gap when I'm not in front of you. If the ceiling settles while you're in there with him, what do you do? The 2-meter gap. Fallen material lodged on both sides. A concussed patient who might panic. Stop, she said. Hold position. Wait for the settling. If he can't hold, put myself between him and the direction the material's moving. Yes, Silas said, not praise, confirmation. Go. They moved the concussed Keth through the gap in 11 minutes. Silas in front pulling his hands to each grip. Yara behind maintaining body contact, speaking into his ear through the translator. Floor beneath you, hand here, you're moving forward, you're almost through. The patient muttered things she couldn't translate and reached for walls that weren't there, and she kept redirecting him without raising her voice, because she had watched Silas do it with people before, and understood that calm was the only thing that was actually contagious in a tight space. She felt the gap differently from the inside, not claustrophobia, but a heightened alertness. Every sound from the material above sorting automatically into concerning and not yet concerning. Nothing settled. They came out and handed the patient to the compact team's medic, who had moved up to the gap's exterior while they worked. Emergency kit ready, waiting. Then they went back in. The east debris took 43 minutes with the hydraulic separator, Yara moving material on the upper sections while Silas worked the base. She had never used a hydraulic separator on live debris before. She had trained on it 6 weeks ago in a simulated environment that she now understood bore no resemblance to the real thing. She watched how Silas positioned the tool, the angle he chose, the way he read the debris stack before applying force rather than after, and filed everything she could catch. The floor above creaked at the 30-minute mark, a single sharp sound from the north support junction, and Silas said without looking up, Joint adjusting to the weight we've been moving. Normal. Keep going. She did, because he had said it with the exact same voice he used to say everything else. They cleared the passage. The two remaining Keth came through into the west corridor, the elder and the young male with the forelimb fracture. Silas took the injured young male on his shoulder and moved toward the gap. He stopped halfway and looked back. Yara was helping the elder navigate around a debris section. "Let him take your arm," Silas said. "Don't guide from behind, walk beside him." She adjusted. The elder took her arm. The grip was tight and precise, the grip of someone who had stopped performing composure and arrived at the actual thing. They moved together out through the gap into cold mountain air. Outside, the sun had moved. Early afternoon, the light off the snow-covered peaks coming at a low angle that turned everything gold. The compact medics were there. Vrath was there, secondary ears up and forward. Silas handed the injured young male to the medics. He pulled off his headlamp and ran a hand over his hair, shaking out stone dust. Yara looked at the outpost, barely damaged from the outside, just one fallen facade. From the inside, she knew what 4 hours in the dark with a broken arm and a blocked exit felt like, approximately. She found water from the supply kit and drank it standing up. Silas came to stand beside her. "You hesitated at the gap," he said, "the second time in." She had, half a second, the moment after handing off the concussed patient when she registered that she was about to go back into it voluntarily. "I know." "What happened?" "I thought about what it would be like if the material shifted while I was in it." And then you were already moving," she said. He looked at her, not approval or disapproval, but recognition, the expression of someone who has seen something before and is placing it correctly. "That part doesn't go away," he said. "You're going to think about the material shifting for your entire career. The job is to go while you're thinking about it." She filed that. It felt like something that would take years to fully understand, and was already beginning to matter. Counselor Vrath crossed the snow toward them. He moved like someone who had spent 4 hours being wrong about something and was deciding how to hold it. He stopped in front of Silas. "The Mountain Response Division has declared the structure stable," Vrath said. "Their assessment was more conservative than warranted." "Structures like this usually have more time than the initial read suggests," Silas said. "Conservative is the right instinct when you're not sure." "You were not sure either," Vrath said. "No. But you went." Silas said nothing. The mountain air moved between them. Vrath looked at Yara, then back at Silas. His secondary ears moved through several positions. "The Keth Outpost Authority has filed its emergency requests through the Compact Mountain Response Division for 30 years. The Earth Aid Corps channel was not considered relevant to our circumstances." A pause. "I am reconsidering that." "I'd appreciate that," Silas said. "The injured young male," Vrath said. "He is my sister's son." The sentence arrived without additional context. Silas received it the same way, without changing his expression, without offering something that would diminish it. "He's stable," Silas said. "Fracture is clean, he'll heal." Vrath's secondary ears settled. He made a motion with his right hand that the translator marked as no direct equivalent, a Keth gesture performed between equals, when language handles something poorly. He turned and walked back toward his people. Yara watched him go. The peaks above the outpost stood clean and enormous against the afternoon sky. "He's going to file with us first next time," she said. "Probably," Silas said. "Is that why you did it, to change their protocol?" He gave the question the seriousness he gave to simple things. "No," he said. "There were 3 people on floor 2. She understood the sentence. She also understood that there was more in it than she could reach yet, that she was 21 years old, and at the beginning of something that would take most of her working life to fully learn, and that Sela's Akafor had been at it for 30 years and had still gone down into the gap ahead of her. She picked up her gear bag. "Next one," she said. He looked at her with the expression she was learning to read, the one that wasn't approval but was becoming it, given enough gaps and enough going while thinking about the material shifting. "Yes," he said. They went to find the shuttle. Behind them, Vrath walked back to his council and began explaining to 30 years of established protocol that it needed to change. He filed the updated emergency registry 3 days later, putting the Earth Aid Corps channel into the Keth Outpost Authority's primary response list. He added a note in the registry field, which the EAS intake clerk received and logged without ceremony. It said, "They come before you ask twice." The clerk marked it received and moved on.